You might not realize just how many black actors have quietly transformed Hollywood, not just through talent, but through the courage to live out loud. Their stories, especially looking back from 2025, carry a weight far deeper than most ever imagined. Once, their early careers unfolded beneath the shadow of expectation, silence, and an industry that demanded they hide parts of who they truly were. But today, they stand with a different kind of power, one built on confidence, truth, and unapologetic pride. They haven't simply found success, they've redefined it, choosing to rise on their own terms, no matter the cost. Their evolution is fearless, inspiring, and sometimes almost unbelievable in how far they've come. This is more than recognition. It's a celebration of openly LGBTQ plus black actors whose authenticity has not only changed their own lives, but reshaped the industry forever. Kevin Aviance. Kevin Aviance didn't simply step into queer performance. He rose within it, becoming one of the most unforgettable forces in ballroom culture and dance music. His story feels like a pulse of neon light in the dark, a testament to artistry that refuses to be silenced. When he left Washington, D.C. for the electric streets of New York City, it wasn't just a move, it was a transformation. In the legendary House of Aviance, he sharpened his craft, blending drag, voguing, high fashion, and theatrical intensity into something entirely his own. Every performance carried a kind of fearless elegance, every movement demanding attention, every presence unapologetically bold. He quickly became more than a performer. He became a symbol. With razor-sharp choreography and undeniable charisma, Aviance earned reverence not only in the ballroom scene, but across queer communities worldwide. His music carried that same spirit. Tracks like Dinda and Alive weren't just club hits. They were anthems, echoing far beyond underground venues into the heart of house music and gay nightlife culture. His sound wasn't only meant to entertain, it was meant to liberate. It celebrated identity, self-expression, and the unstoppable resilience of the communities he represented. But his journey was never free of pain. In 2006, Aviance survived a brutal hate crime, a moment that could have stolen his life, his career, his future. Yet, instead of disappearing, he returned, stronger, fiercer, turning trauma into testimony and survival into power. Kevin Aviance became proof that even after the darkest night, the stage can still belong to those who refuse to stop shining. Jeffrey Boyer-Chapman. Jeffrey Boyer-Chapman has always walked a path layered with complexity, not only as an actor, but as an advocate and cultural voice navigating the world as a black queer man in entertainment. Adopted into a loving mixed-race family, Chapman often reflects on how those early experiences shaped him, planting the roots of empathy, resilience, and a deep understanding of identity. From the beginning, his life carried a quiet strength, the kind built through belonging and difference all at once. He first entered the spotlight through modeling, learning how to exist in front of the camera with confidence and grace. But acting became his true calling, a space where his charisma met authenticity, and every role felt like an extension of something real. His visibility expanded even further when he stepped into the role of judge on Canada's Drag Race. His wit, insight, and unwavering support for LGBTQ plus artistry made him more than a television personality. He became a champion of creative freedom. Yet, with recognition came harsh realities. Chapman faced significant online harassment, a painful reminder of the intersectional barriers black, queer entertainers continue to endure under public scrutiny. His experience revealed how fame can amplify both celebration and cruelty. Still, he remained standing, a figure of talent and perseverance, carrying his truth forward in a world that too often demands silence. Tyrese Gibson. Tyrese Gibson's story didn't begin under bright lights or red carpets. It began in the quiet weight of struggle, in a world shaped by poverty, scarce opportunity, and the absence of a complete home. Raised by a single mother, he learned early that life rarely gives without taking first. But even as a boy, Tyrese carried something different inside him, a stubborn kind of hope, a hunger to rise beyond the streets that tried to define him. Everything shifted when he was only 16. A simple moment, singing on a bus in a Coca-Cola commercial, became something unforgettable. His voice wasn't just heard, it was felt. Overnight, the country knew his name. That spark ignited a music career that would soon bloom into timeless R&B. With songs like Sweet Lady, Tyrese became more than an artist. He became one of the soulful voices that shaped an era. Yet his journey didn't stop at music. He stepped onto the screen with Baby Boy, delivering a performance so raw, so emotionally honest, audiences couldn't look away. Hollywood noticed quickly. Before long, Tyrese was racing through global blockbusters like Fast and Furious and standing tall in franchises like Transformers. Still, even in fame, he kept returning to music, using it as a mirror for love, pain, and growth. But success never erased the battles within him. Tyrese has never pretended life was perfect. He spoke openly about depression, the heartbreak of divorce, the misunderstandings of the public eye, and the complicated emotions of fatherhood. And in his most vulnerable moments, played out beneath the harsh spotlight of social media, he revealed something rare, a man still fighting to heal, still trying to stay honest in a world that demands strength but rarely allows softness. Donnie McClurkin. Donnie McClurkin's life, too, is a story carved from deep wounds, yet lifted by something even deeper. His childhood was marked by tragedy long before most children understand what loss means. He endured the unimaginable pain of losing his younger brother in a sudden accident, and not long after, he suffered abuse that left scars far beyond the surface, a trauma he would one day confront publicly as part of his healing. In the middle of that darkness, music became his refuge, his sanctuary, the one place where pain could transform into something sacred. By his teenage years, Donnie was already learning from gospel legends, absorbing their spirit, sharpening his gift, building what would become a groundbreaking legacy. He later formed the McClurkin Singers in the New York Restoration Choir, blending the roots of traditional gospel with a modern fire that captured hearts everywhere. But life continued to test him. He faced leukemia, a battle that could have ended everything. Years later, a devastating car accident left many fearing he wouldn't survive. Yet each time, Donnie returned, not just alive, but renewed, back to the stage, back to the pulpit, back to the calling that pain could never silence. As pastor of Perfecting Faith Church, he has guided thousands, weaving music and ministry into a living message of redemption. His journey is not defined by suffering alone, but by the unshakable faith that carried him through it. Jamie Foxx. Jamie Foxx's story begins far from the glow of marquees and red carpets. In a quiet town where discipline was law, faith was routine, and love arrived in firm, uncompromising forms. Raised by his grandmother, Esther Marie Talley, in a strict Baptist home, his earliest stage was a church. Wooden pews, gospel echoes, and a piano that seemed to recognize him before the world ever would. There, beneath stained glass and Sunday hymns, a young Jamie learned how to listen, how to feel, and how to perform. Even then, something rare was unfolding. His fingers moved with instinct. His timing drew laughter effortlessly, and his presence carried a confidence that felt earned, not borrowed. Those early moments hinted at a future too large to stay confined to one lane. Comedy opened the door, but Fox refused to stay inside it. He stepped into drama with purpose, shedding expectations until nothing remained but truth. That journey reached its peak when he disappeared into the life of Ray Charles, a performance so raw and precise it felt less like acting and more like resurrection. The Academy Award that followed was not a surprise. It was a confirmation. And while Hollywood applauded, the music never stopped. From chart-topping hits to Grammy recognition, Fox proved his voice belonged just as much on the stage as it did on the screen. Wanda Sykes. Wanda Sykes arrived at comedy from the opposite direction, through order, structure, and a life carefully planned. Before the spotlight found her, she chose stability. A marketing degree from Hampton University led her to the National Security Agency, where days were spent decoding data, not audiences. It was a life defined by logic, far removed from laughter and applause. But some voices refused to stay quiet. Her wit, sharp, fearless, and observant, kept pressing forward until stand-up became unavoidable. In small clubs, under dim lights, she found her truth. Comedy wasn't an escape. It was a revelation. In 2008, Sykes made another defining choice, publicly coming out as gay in a country still learning how to listen. In doing so, she became one of the most visible, openly lesbian black women in American entertainment. That moment reshaped her work, deepening it. Her humor evolved into something sharper, more urgent. Comedy as witness, as resistance, as truth-telling. She spoke openly about identity, power, injustice, and hypocrisy, weaving personal history into cultural critique with precision and courage. Her stand-up specials and television work earned critical acclaim and multiple Emmy nominations, not because they were comfortable, but because they were honest. Wanda Sykes didn't just make people laugh. She made them confront what they'd rather ignore. Jussie Smollett. Jussie Smollett once stepped into the spotlight as Jamal Lyon, a character who didn't just sing his pain but lived out loud. On Empire, his performances carried a rare tenderness, one that allowed pride, vulnerability, and Black queer identity to coexist on mainstream television without apology. In those early years, especially around 2015, Smollett felt less like a rising star and more like a symbol of forward motion. Through interviews and public conversations about identity, he became both artist and advocate, someone audiences believed in not only for his talent, but for what he represented. Then came 2019, and with it, a rupture. Headlines shifted, applause faded, and a legal controversy began to eclipse the work itself. Between investigations, appeals, and public disputes stretching into 2024, his creative voice was drowned out by noise. By 2025, Smollett remains a familiar name, but no longer a simple one. His legacy now exists in tension between early cultural impact and the long shadow of a moment that permanently altered how his story is told. Justice Smith. Justice Smith's rise followed a quieter, steadier rhythm. He emerged as a young actor with an effortless emotional fluency, moving between blockbuster franchises and intimate indie films, as if the distance between them didn't exist. Early roles framed him as sincere, open, and deeply human, qualities that made audiences trust him and filmmakers lean in. There was always a sense that he was listening more than performing. As the years passed, that promise matured. By 2025, Smith's career reflects intention rather than momentum. He has gravitated toward more complex, adult characters, allowing silence, contradiction, and emotional weight to shape his performances. Off-screen, his voice has grown clearer too. As a queer Black actor, he speaks candidly about representation, authenticity, and the quiet pressure of surviving an industry that rarely makes room without conditions. Together, his evolving craft and measured advocacy place him not just within conversation, but subtly reshaping it, one role and one truth at a time. Kenan Lonsdale first stepped into the spotlight during the years when everything seemed to be moving fast. His breakout roles on Flash and the cultural turning point that was Love, Simon introducing him to audiences around the world. There was something instantly magnetic about him, a natural charisma, an athlete's sharp physical presence, and the graceful rhythm of someone who carried dance in his bones. On screen, he moved with a kind of fluid energy that felt both fearless and deeply human. His performances had a rare balance, confidence wrapped around vulnerability, making it impossible not to feel what he was feeling. Even then, it was clear he wasn't meant to be placed in just one box. Behind the acting, there was an artist quietly searching, experimenting, reaching for something more. By 2025, that search has become a full embrace of who he is. Lonsdale now walks two creative worlds at once. Actor and musician, releasing his own original music while continuing to choose roles that echo his growing artistic voice. Open, unapologetic, and vividly expressive, he speaks with honesty about the layered experience of queer Black identity, returning again and again to themes of freedom, self-love, and authenticity. His presence in pride spaces and throughout the LGBTQ+ community has made him more than a performer. It has made him a symbol, a voice that doesn't just exist, but shines. And in everything he does, Kenan continues to invite others to step into their truth with the same fearless vibrancy he carries into every stage, every frame, every note. Alex Newell didn't simply arrive on Glee. They announced themselves. In a show crowded with talent, their voice cut to like a memory you didn't know you were waiting for, bold, undeniable, and impossible to ignore. There was a sense, even then, that this wasn't a fleeting moment, but the beginning of a larger story. Every note carried urgency. Every performance felt lived in, as if emotion itself had found a body and learned how to sing. That early spark opened doors far beyond television, carrying Newell toward Broadway lights and bigger stages where their artistry could fully breathe. By 2025, that promise had crystallized into legacy. A groundbreaking Tony Award stood not as an endpoint, but as proof of how deeply they had reshaped the modern stage. Moving effortlessly between theater, music, and screen, Newell continues to perform with the same fearless intensity that first set them apart, only now sharpened by experience and purpose. Openly queer and non-binary, they become more than performer. They are a visible declaration. Through advocacy, pride appearances, and unwavering presence, Newell lifts up a community too often left in the shadows, especially Black non-binary artists. Their journey is not just about success, but about making space, turning visibility into power, and art into something that lasts. Tessa Thompson's rise didn't feel sudden. It felt inevitable, like a quiet signal slowly growing louder. She first drifted into public consciousness through intimate independent films, then stepped fully into the spotlight with her arrival in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. What made her unforgettable wasn't spectacle, but restraint, a calm gravity, an intelligence that lived behind the eyes. Even in the most heightened worlds, she brought a sense of truth, an emotional exactness that grounded fantasy in something human. Early on, her work revealed a rare balance, artistic fearlessness paired with undeniable mainstream presence. She moved effortlessly between quiet, internal stories and global blockbusters, never losing her center. By 2025, Thompson stands not just as a star, but as a defining presence in prestige film and ambitious television. Her choices reflect intention, roles that question tradition, widen the frame, and make space for voices long pushed to the margins. Beyond the screen, she has grown into a cultural voice of her own, speaking openly about queerness, identity, and the shifting language of gender and desire in Hollywood. Comfortable with fluidity and complexity, she resists simple labels while honoring lived experience. At Pride celebrations and within LGBTQ+ conversations, she remains both visible and vital, using her platform to push storytelling towards something richer, braver, and more inclusive. Laverne Cox. Laverne Cox did not arrive quietly. She emerged at a moment when the world was still learning how to see her. When Orange is the New Black found its way into living rooms across the globe, it wasn't just a breakout role. It was an introduction. Through her presence, her stillness, her strength, audiences encountered a trans woman written not as a symbol, but as a human being with depth, contradictions, and truth. That moment changed the cultural temperature. History was shifting in real time. Cox became more than an actress. She became visibility itself, gracing magazine covers, standing in interviews with clarity and conviction, carrying a story that had long been pushed to the margins. What set her apart was not only courage, but composure, a rare blend of elegance, intellect, and resolve that resonated far beyond the screen. Years later, in 2025, her voice still echoes where it matters most. Cox continues to move between worlds, acting, producing, speaking, never confined to a single role. She uses her platform as both a shield and a spotlight, addressing the realities of trans lives with honesty, whether through film, documentary work, or advocacy. Each project feels intentional, rooted in the belief that stories can protect, educate, and transform. As one of the most influential Black trans performers of her generation, Laverne Cox's legacy is not measured only by milestones, but by impact. She remains a steady force in an industry still learning, pushing it closer to empathy, dignity, and a future where visibility is no longer revolutionary, but simply human. Brian Michael Smith first stepped into the spotlight through a series of television roles that did something quietly revolutionary. He didn't just play trans masculinity. He embodied it with a kind of depth that felt lived in, honest, and rare. In an industry that too often leans on shortcuts and familiar tropes, Smith's early performances chose a different path. His characters weren't defined by spectacle or explanation, but by emotional truth, by the steady wave of experience, the quiet resilience behind every glance, every pause, every unspoken moment. By 2025, Smith has become more than a recognizable face on screen. He has become a constant presence, dependable, grounded, taking on roles that refuse to fit inside outdated stereotypes. Whether he's portraying first responders, layered dramatic leads, or part of an ensemble cast, His work carries a clear intention to show trans men of color as fully human, complex, and undeniably real. His continued visibility in scripted television isn't just a career milestone. It's a cultural shift unfolding in real time, a reminder that representation can be expansive, nuanced, and deeply transformative when it's rooted in authenticity. Brian Michael Smith isn't only acting, he's helping reshape the stories the industry dares to tell. Taika Sumter's journey never felt rushed. It unfolded with a quiet resolve, the kind built on patience, discipline, and an unspoken belief that her moment would come. Long before the spotlight found her as an actress, she learned how to hold it, first through modeling, then as a television host. On BET's Best Friends Date, she wasn't just present on screen. She connected. There was a warmth in her voice, an ease in her smile, a natural rhythm that made audiences feel seen, as if she belonged there all along. When film entered her life, it didn't change her direction. It deepened it. Each role became a stepping stone, rather than a shortcut. From the raw energy of Stomp the Yard to the emotional textures of Homecoming. From the humor and relatability of Think Like a Man to the soulful resonance of Sparkle, Sumter slowly expanded the way the world saw her. With every performance, she added dimension, never louder, just clearer. But there are moments in a career that feel less like progress and more like arrival. For Taika Sumter, that moment came with Southside With You. Portraying a young Michelle Obama, she didn't rely on imitation. Instead, she leaned into restraint. Through quiet glances, measured confidence, and understated strength, she revealed the intelligence and grounded grace of a woman on the edge of history. The performance carried both intimacy and reverence, honoring truth without losing heart. That role did more than earn acclaim. It redefined her. It marked a point where potential turned into certainty, where promise became presence. Taika Sumter had arrived not just as a familiar face, but as a dramatic force, ready to carry stories that linger long after the screen fades to black. Jeremy Pope didn't simply rise into world theater and film. He arrived like a force of quiet brilliance, reshaping every space he stepped into. With a voice that carries both power and vulnerability and a stage presence that feels almost impossible to ignore, he has become one of the most compelling talents of his generation. Trained at the American Musical and Dramatic Academy, Pope sharpened his artistry through discipline and devotion, learning how to balance technical mastery with raw emotional truth. Every role he took on demanded more than performance. It required honesty, precision, and heart. When he transitioned from stage to screen, his impact only grew deeper. In Netflix's Hollywood, he portrayed a black queer artist confronting the invisible walls of an industry built to exclude voices like his. It wasn't just acting. It was reflection, representation, and a story shared by countless creators who have long stood at the margins of recognition. Then came The Inspection, a performance that earned him a Golden Globe nomination and confirmed what audiences already felt. Jeremy Pope has a rare gift for telling stories of identity, resilience, and survival with unforgettable humanity. Whether under the spotlight of Broadway or the lens of cinema, he continues to bridge worlds. And in doing so, he brings long overdue voices into the center of the narrative. What are your thoughts on these 15 gay black actors we shared today? Each of their stories carries something powerful. Not just talent, but courage, identity, and presence that continues to shape the world of film and television. We'd love to hear your voice too, so feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments below. If this video brought you insight, inspiration, or even a moment of reflection, don't forget to support the channel by liking, sharing, and subscribing. Thank you for spending this time with us. Until the next story, the next spotlight, and the next journey, take care and we'll see you again soon. Goodbye.